How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Mem Tes, Daf 49 of Masechta Nazir. Friends, I mean, it's Daf Mem Tes, but we're based... What's with all these explosions, man? But we already did like half of Daf Mem Tes, so I mean, really it's just like a Mishnah and a little bit of Gemara, so I can't imagine it's going to be a very long Daf today. Alright, so we're going to start in Daf Mem Tes with Beis, 4 lines into the page. It says the Mishnah, Al Elu Tumas HaNazir Megalech. So for the following Tumas, a Nazir needs to, becomes Tameh, Tumas HaMeis, and he has to have the sprinkling of the ashes of the Paraduma on day 3 and day 7. Then afterwards he needs to get a haircut, and he needs to bring korbanos. So Al HaMeis, from a corpse, val kazayis min hameis, or in olives worth of flesh from a corpse, val kazayis netzel, or kazayis of netzel, which the Gemara is going to explain is like oozy, congealedy, jelly, corpsey, kind of grossy stuff. Val mlotarvid rekev, or a tarvid's worth of what's that word? Decomposition of a corpse. Valashidra val gulgolis, or the spine or the skull, val aver min hameis, or a limb of a corpse. Val aver min hachai, or the limb of a live person. Sheish olav basar karoi, that I don't know, apparently has like enough meat to be able to like re-meat itself or whatever, regrow its meating. Val chatzi kav atzomus, on half of a kav's worth of bones, val chatzi log dam, or on half of a log of blood, val magon val mason val ohilon. And in all these cases, it would apply if you touch these things, if you carry these things, or if you are in a enclosed area with these things. In ohel with these things. Val etzem kisora amagov amaso. And if it's a bone the size of a barley kernel, so then if you touch it or carry it, so then the Kohen Gadol, the Nazir would have to kind of start over and do that whole thing, haircut, korbanos, but not for an ohel, right? And etzem kisora is not matami ba'ohel. Al eilu ha-nazir megaleach. So for these, the Nazir would have to get a haircut. Umazav ashlishi vashvi, and he would have paraduma ashes sprinkled on him on day 3 and day 7 of his purification process. V'soser sakodmin, and any Naziris experience that he had, experienced until this point would be erased, right? You'd have to start over. Ve'enu maschil limnos ela ad shitor mevius korbanosov, and he can only start counting anew once he is pure and he has offered his korbanos. Fine. After that point, he could start counting over. Tanu Rabbanan, fascinating story over here. Fascinating story over here. Tanu Rabbanan, the Rabbi said, after Reb Meir passed away, Omer Loyin Rabbi Yehuda the Talmid of Rabbi Yehuda had said to his students, Al yikonsu Talmidei Reb Meir lechan. Says Rabbi Yehuda to his students, do not allow Reb Meir's students here. Reb Meir had passed away, and Rabbi Yehuda had told his students, do not let the students of Reb Meir in. Because they are critics, they haka chainik. They're not coming to learn sort of genuinely. They're coming to hak me a chainik, to show how smart they are. They're just trying to outwit me and hak me a chainik. I don't want Reb Meir's students here. Dochak Sumchis v'nichnos, but nonetheless Sumchis, who was a student of Reb Meir, managed to get himself into the Beis HaMedrash. Omer loim kach shonali Reb Meir, and then immediately Sumchis says, look, Reb Meir said to me, Al elu tumis anazir megaleach, on the following tumas, a Nazir has to, get a haircut and start over and bring korbanos. Al hameis val kazayis min hameis. So from an olive's worth of flesh from a corpse, but also on a corpse itself. Now this is the gears of our Mishnah, right? But apparently, Rabbi Yehuda's gear, right, didn't have the corpse part in his gears. He would just say anakazayis from a mace, and the memele, if anakazayis min a mace, he has to be migalech. So the memele on the whole mace, he has to be migalech. Cause Rabbi Yehuda got upset with Omar Lo, and he says to his students, Lo kachamarti lechem, didn't I say to you, Al yikansu talmidei Reb Meir lechan, didn't I tell you that I don't want Reb Meir's students over here? Mipnei shekantruanein, because they hack me a chinik, that they're not coming here to genuinely learn, they're just coming to cause to stir trouble and machlokes. And Rabbi Yehuda explains, Al kazayis min ames migalech al ames lo kol sheken. If just from an olive's worth from a corpse, a fellow needs to, right, a Nazir would have to, get a haircut, bring korbanos, start over. So then certainly on a whole corpse he would have to do that and start over. Rabbi Yossi. Now Rabbi Yossi was observing all of this and experiencing all of this. That, Rabbi Yehuda had told the students not to let the students of Rabbi Meir in. And then Rabbi Yehuda had made his argument, right, meaning Sumchus had quoted Rabbi Meir to say that not just the K'zayis min ha-mace, but the mace itself. Rabbi Yehuda says, no way, you only have to say the K'zayis min ha-mace, you don't need to mention the mace, it's obvious. Rabbi Yossi says, Rabbi Yossi, Yomer, they're going to say, Meir Shachav, that Rabbi Meir passed away. Yehuda Koas, and Rabbi Yehuda got upset. Yossi Shasak, and Rabbi Yossi kept quiet. Torah Mate Oleo, what's going to be with the Torah? Because Rabbi Yossi actually understood it like Rabbi Meir, that it should have said in the Mishnah, not just K'zayis min ha-mace, but also mace, and therefore Rabbi Yossi, on the one hand, he wanted to respect Rabbi Yehuda and not say anything. On the other hand, he felt an obligation, he felt a duty that he had to, explain the Mishnah as he understood it, which was to include the mace as well. So therefore, Amar Rabbi Yossi says, Rabbi Yossi, Lo nitzucha ela lemeis she'ein olav kazayis basar. Well, it's needed for a dead body that does not have a kazayis of basar. So if you have a dead body that doesn't have a kazayis of basar, so the Mishnah is saying that in that case as well, the Nazir would have to start over. V'adayin yomar, but still you could say, Al ever mimenu megaleach, al kulu lo kol sheken, if the Mishnah says that even if a limb from a corpse, if a Nazir comes in contact with a limb from a corpse, he has to start over, he has to be megaleach, so then certainly the entire corpse he would have to be megaleach. So still, why do I need that in the Mishnah? We already mentioned that a limb from a corpse has to be megalech, certainly the whole corpse. So Ella, Gedam Rabbi Yochanan, you have to understand, it's like Rabbi Yochanan explains, Lo nitzcha ela lenefel shlo niskashu evar begidin. Well, there was a certain context in which Rabbi Yochanan says that it's talking about a fetus, that the sinews between the bones were not developed yet. So here also we're talking about it, right? When the Mishnah says a mace, it's talking about a fetus where the sinews were not developed yet, and therefore the bones weren't considered connected to each other, and therefore Aver min ha-mace would not apply in that case. But we're saying that the mace itself, the fetus itself in this case, would make a Nazir have to start over. Rava Amar says, Rava l'nitzcha ela l'rov binyano she'en ba rova atzamis. But Rava says, yeah, it could also be talking about if you have the right, most of the structure of the body, or most of the number of bones of the body, even if it might not even be a quarter of a kav, which is sort of the minimum for being matame, but if it's most of the bones or most of the body, so then it would be matame none the less. Friends, that's what it means when it says mace. Friends, that was daf memtes. Essentially, it was really just memtes mit beis and shtickle of nun. We talked about the different things that a Nazir would have to get a haircut, bring korbanos, start over for. Friends, that was daf memtes. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.